Mel Kiper just released his mock draft 1.0, seeing the Dallas Cowboys taking 2 defenders, which is exactly what we need. And let's break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Cowboys Football 365. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, please hit that subscribe button. We are so close to my goal of 1,000 subscribers. But let's jump right into the video for today. Mel Kiper, ESPN's #1 NFL draft analyst, just revealed his first 1.0 mock draft this morning, and here's what he had to say about the Dallas Cowboys. He wrote, "If you wanted to score points in 2025, all you needed to do was a matchup with the Cowboys defense. They allowed 30.1 points per game, the most in the league. This is another spot where Jermad McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee, could make sense, although Deron Bland, with a foot injury, will be back in 2026. And I think Keldrick Falk can be here if he is still on the board." Now, in Mel Kiper's mock draft, Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher, run defender from Auburn, was not on the board. In this reality that we would be living in this Mel Kiper mock draft, Falk went number 11 overall to the Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about who Mel Kiper actually had us selecting. He writes, "Dallas could really use an impact player in the middle of the defense. Sonny Styles, out of Ohio State, is a former safety, and it's no surprise once you see his speed. He can close on ball carriers and pass catchers in a flash. With 174 tackles over the past 2 seasons, he's a top 10 prospect for me." Sonny Styles is a player that we have been kind of tabbed in on for a while now. We have seen many spots mock Sonny Styles to us, and that's why, as Cowboy fans, we are paying extra attention to Sonny Styles. He is an off-ball linebacker from Ohio State, but everyone who has scouted him talks about the athleticism that he brings to his profile, and that's what you need when you're taking a middle linebacker in the first round. Many people will argue that middle linebacker / off-ball linebacker isn't a position of enough importance that you need to take him in the first round, but if they are really that guy, it helps so much to have a really, really good middle linebacker because he can be the quarterback of the defense. He can be a second coach on the field, and he can make sure your entire defense is always on the same page. I hate saying that because I've said our defense isn't on the same page like every single video. It's because it was true. Our defense was not on the same page. We need more leadership. That comes from a strong defensive coordinator whenever we figure out who that's going to be. And it comes down to having strong leaders on the field. And that's what Sonny Styles would bring to the table. If we look at the pros for Sonny Styles, according to NFL Draft Buzz, super athletic, made Bruce Feldman's freak list. He wrote, at 6'4.5", 243 pounds, he broad jumped 11 foot, vertical jump 40 inches, and squatted 675 pounds. Those are fantastic measurements. His body fat is 10%. If not for Jeremiah Smith, Sonny Styles would be the Buckeyes' biggest freak. When we are throwing around the word freak, they're just talking about how athletic this player is. Devastates run fits with violent hands and natural leverage. So he's a very good run defender. Starting in the middle of the defense, that matters. We know Jerry Jones wants to build the defense from the inside out. So having strong run defenders, especially in the middle of the field, is something that Jerry will take a special interest in. Although you could argue it's not really our biggest need in the first round because since Jerry Jones wants to build the defense like that, he traded away Micah Parsons to build the defense like that. And he traded him for Quinnen Williams. Traded him for Kenny Clark, and then also traded for Quinnen Williams to attack that weakness that we had in our defense. So it's not the biggest need to go add more run support, but we know that is what Jerry Jones is thinking about at all times, no matter who we bring into the locker room and put on the football field. Closes on ball carriers with frightening speed for his size, regularly running down plays from backside pursuit angles. Again, just a good run defender whenever the other team decides that they're going to try to run the football. Football instincts shine through elite play recognition and pre-snap diagnosis. I really love this point right here. Love the fact that he is not only a physical player and a great athlete, he's also a very cerebral player. That's what you need out of your middle linebacker, especially if they're going to be the leader on the field for your entire defense. They have to understand where not only they're supposed to be, but they need to understand where everyone else on your defense is supposed to be to make sure everybody is lined up properly pre-snap. Whenever you're facing motion from the opposing team's offense, the correct adjustments are made on the fly. Not properly communicating on the back end is how those bomb touchdowns occurred last season, and we want to bring in players who are going to be able to mitigate that issue for our defense. Our final point here: versatility allows him to seamlessly transition between linebacker, safety, and even slot coverage, depending on offensive personnel groupings. Now, we're getting too far ahead of ourselves here. I know he's extremely athletic, but there's a difference between being extremely athletic in college and then being extremely athletic in the NFL. If you are a middle linebacker who is fast enough to play slot corner as well, you are either the most athletic linebacker in the league, which he very well could be. I mean, he's a very, very athletic player. It's his number one trait that we're hearing about. But I would say more likely he's not going to be fast enough to do that, because that scares me a little bit. When you hear that point, it makes you think of all the guys that were supposed to come out as the tweener type. Think about Isaiah Simmons, who came out a couple of years ago out of Clemson, was taken 8th overall to the Arizona Cardinals. They said that he was a linebacker who could play defensive back as well, and it turns out he wasn't big enough or physical enough to play linebacker, and he wasn't quite fast enough to play corner, so he couldn't do either, and that's what I really want to avoid when it comes to Sonny Styles. But we've talked enough about Sonny Styles, someone that we've already heard a lot about, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about him. We got to remember, we have 2 first-round picks. Mel Kiper assigned us a second player in the first round, and it's someone that this is the first time I've seen him mocked in the first round to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's get into who else Mel Kiper had us selecting. Miami lost in Monday's national championship game, but did you watch Akheem Mesidor? He had 2 sacks, bringing his season total to 12.5. Taking Sonny Styles at 12, and then Mesidor here would help that Dallas defense in a big way. But Jerry Jones would have to figure out the secondary on day 2 or in free agency. Well, we know that we are going to have to figure out the defensive back situation at some point, because what we have right now is Deron Bland and a bunch of question marks. I like Siobhan Revel as a prospect, but it has to translate to the football field. We can figure out cornerbacks farther in the draft. We can figure it out, day 2, day 3, or in free agency. Let's finish up what Mel Kiper had to say here. Finishing this off with, he has been around football for a long time, playing at West Virginia in 2020 and 2021 before transferring to Miami. Mesidor has battled injuries, but his toolbox is full. His bend, burst, and power could help the Cowboys recapture some of the pass rush juice they lost when they traded Micah Parsons in August. Mesidor can get into the backfield quickly and finish, registering 17.5 tackles for loss and 4 forced fumbles this past season. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, but Akheem Mesidor, he only had, his stats were so good because Ruben Bain, a top 3 pick, was on the other side of the field taking pressure off. So what? The guy still was able to produce at a high level. Maybe the ACC schedule was a little bit light, but he still produced at a high level. This is a very, very good defensive end. If we take a look at his statistics over the course of his career, that's a lot of football. We got 2 years at West Virginia, 4 years at Miami, culminating in that season that we just read off some of the stats, but we can finish them off here. 15 games, 38 solo tackles, 25 assisted tackles, combining for 63 tackles total. 17.5 tackles for a loss is insane, and so is 12.5 sacks on the season is insane as well. 4 forced fumbles. I mean, these stats are absolutely out of this world. Let's take a look at the pros for Mesidor coming from Bleacher Report. Mesidor is a good athlete overall who is quick and has impressive change of direction skills to beat offensive tackles across their face as a pass rusher. I believe we talked about, was it Keldrick Falk? Or no, maybe it was David Bailey was the other guy we heard about crossing over the offensive lineman's face. One of the number one things that you want to do when you're rushing you're coming off the edge, rushing after the quarterback, you want to pressure the outside shoulder of the lineman, and when they go to protect and help on their outside shoulder, you cross their face and you cut inside to their inside shoulder. And if you can beat them to the inside, you now have an inside faster track to the quarterback, especially when you're getting pressure up the middle, there's less room for the quarterback to get away from you. They have to rely on athleticism. They have to outrun you, and they can't just run away from you. So pressure up the middle, always better than pressure around the outside. Solid at setting up pass rush moves by stemming in one direction and using his movement skills to win on the other side. So a little bit of the same thing here. He's going to give the offensive lineman a fake one way. He's going to beat him to the other side. Very good use of his hands as a pass rusher, has active hands, and has shown the ability to be consistent, beat the hands, beat the man. This is what they talk about. The first thing you want to do, offensive lineman or defensive lineman, you want to beat the guy's hands, demonstrate good hand fighting abilities, knock the guy's hands down, whether you're going to chop them or swipe them, get their hands off you, and go get past that offensive lineman. Also has shown a solid bull to rip move and a nonstop pass rush motor, constantly working counter moves if he does not work initially. So high motor is something that I love to see. If you think about a lot of the top pass rushers in the history of the NFL, they never give up on a play, no matter if the football is being ran the other way, no matter if the quarterback looks like he's going to throw the ball pretty quickly, no matter if it looks like you have lost that pass rep, they keep fighting, they keep trying, and they do whatever it takes to beat their man. And eventually, sometimes they are still able to make a play. Akheem Mesidor is someone that we need to be taking a very close look at because we need defensive end help. And maybe Mel Kiper is a little bit too high on him. This is certainly the highest I've seen him go. But if Mel Kiper is too high on him, we can start thinking about him. Maybe we trade back up into the second round to acquire Akheem Mesidor, or we can trade down from 20 to go pick him up later on in the draft. That's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and go Cowboys.